a Clara Campoamor, que peleó con ahínco en la Segunda República para conseguir el sufragio femenino, a Rosa Parks, que cuando decidió no levantarse en aquel autobús, consiguió con aquel gesto un hito en la lucha por los derechos raciales en su país. O a Hannah Arendt, cuyas teorías influyeron poderosamente en la filosofía política y lucha todavía a día de hoy porque su nombre se reconozca y se trabaje en los libros de texto. Como todas ellas, también Kathrine Switzer rompió un techo de cristal en 1967. Y lo mejor de todo, como dice ella varias veces, sin romper nada, transformando step by step, ha seguido haciéndolo desde entonces. Benetako plazerra da gaurkoan gurekin izatea. Thank you very much, Kathrine, for being with us today. It's a real pleasure. I am sure we are everyone going to enjoy it. Thank you very much. Gogoratu nahiko nizueke, hasiera eman aurretik, guztiok, bai hemen eta baita Bilbon ere, galderak egiteko aukera izango dugula hitzaldian zehar. Bai txarteletan, hemen Donostian zaudetenok, eta txartel horiek gure lankide Imanol, Xabi, Andrea, Larraitz edo Mikeli emanaz, eta Bilbon zaudetenak zuen galderak eginez, hemen jasoko ditugu, Alexo Hierrek jasoko ditu, eta baita ere aukera izango duzue horiek plazaratzeko. Gauzak horrela eta gehiago luzatu gabe, eta ekitaldiari hasiera emateko, Markel Olano, diputatu nagusiari, emango diotitza. Markel?
Egunon guztioi, labur egingo dut, ez dalako niretzako gaur paper nagusia, Kathrine ezako dalako. Nik aipatu bakarrik atzo bertan izan genuela Foru Aldundian aukera berarekin egiteko, berarekin bilera bat eta Gipuzkoako emakumeen eskubideen defensan aintzindariak izan diren 4 emakumeekin. Eta 4ek egiten zuten irakurketa guztion aurrean zan, bidegile izatea azkeneko urtetan, Kathrinek 60ko hamarkadan hasi zuen borroka hemen ere abiatu zelako, oso gogorra izan dela pertsonalki emakumeentzako, bidegileak izan diren emakume guztientzako. Batek esaten zuen, ezin da izan horren heroikoa, norberaren konpromiso hori aurrera ateratzea, etxean egin beharrekoak, seme-alaben hezkuntza eta eguneroko laneko burruka hori ezin da horren heroikoa izan. Aldatu beharra daude egiturak. Eta hori izan pixkat guk ikusten denuena eta guztiok onartu beharra daukaguna, ez? Kathrine da simbolo bat, simbolo horrek ematen digu argia, nondi joan behar dugun aztertzeko eta ikusteko, eta guztiok egin beharra daukaguna da, emakumeek, eta batez ere, baita ere gizonezkook, egin beharra daukaguna da, gure egunerokotasuna aldatu, gizarte egiturak eraldatzeko. Eraldaketa hori da benetan funtsezkoa. Eta horregatik da horren importantea gaurko bezalako bilkurak egitea eta berari entzutea, ez? Ikusten dalako zer gogorra izan dan, zer garrantzitsua izan dan, eta nola gaur egun dauzkagun benetako baldintzak, benetako berdintasuna gizon eta emakume artean gure lurraldean eta gure herrian, Euskal Herrian lortzeko. Besterik gabe, eskerrik asko atentzioagatik eta Kathrine daukagun honetan protagonista nagusi. Mila esker.
Beno, lehen esan dudan bezala, batzuetan aukerak korrika gaudela, edo korrika daudela, niri gutxitan aterako zaizkit korrika nagoela aukerak, sortzen dira. Beste batzuetan, herri honetan daukagun kulturak eta kontzientziak sortzen ditu aukerak. Kathrine Switzer hemen daukagun honetan, ezin genuen alde batera utzi, Javier Muguruzak Kathrine Switzerri egindako abestia. Eta kasualitateak kausalitate bihurtuta, uste dugu horrek ere emango diola hitzaldi hau hasteko giro ezin hobea. Eskerrik asko Javier gaurkoan gurekin izateagatik eta zurea da momentu honetan eszenatokia.
Egunon, buenos días, good morning. I am very happy to be here with Kathrine Switzer. 3 years ago, I wrote this song, and now I have the opportunity to sing it to her. With the great musician, Mikel Azpiroz. I feel very lucky. Really. Beretan unkituta nago, eta ez da bla bla bla. Hemen Kathrinen aurrean egotea, bere kanta, berari egindako kanta, abestuari izatea, aurrez aurre. Beretan niretzat luxu bada, ez da? Miresten dut, Kathrine Switzer, eta miresten ditut emakume aitzindari hauek, bai maratoi lasterketetan, bai bertsolaritzan, bai herriko festetan, eta beste hainbat arlotan paper hori aitzindari papera izan dutenak. Beraz, niretzat oso berezia da gaur, hemen egotea. Eta isilduko naiz, uste dut ulertu duzutela, hizkuntza batean edo bestean, estoy emocionado. Mila behatzireun ta hirurogei ta zazpian urtero bezala maratoia Bostonen talen aldiz emakume bata talen aldiz emakume bata bertan saiatu Kathrine Switzer bertan saiatu Kathrine Switzer ondoren betikoa gertatu da gizon batzuk galdu eragozten beste batzuk berari laguntzen gainerakoak geldi begiratzen ta emakumerik franko ere bada eraso egiten erasoari emanak handriak ez direla hartarako gauza dioten baina Kathrine gihartxuak kontrakoa frogatu Kathrine gihartxuak kontrakoa frogatu Oztopoak oztopo helmugara iritsi Oztopoak oztopo helmugara iritsi irabaziko du. Kontrakoen argudioak zorroztu arren, kontrakoen argudioak zorroztu arren. Kathrine berriak elmugan azkartzen, koro berriak elmugan azkartzen, Kathrine berriak elmugan azkartzen, koro berriak elmugan azkartzen. Eskerrik asko, Kathrine.
Mila 1967, Boston, Kathrine Switzer. Maratoia bukatuko duen lehen emakumea dortsal batekin. 1967, Boston. Kathrine Switzer, la primera mujer que terminará una maratón con dorsal. 1967, España. Nuestros padres, algunos achiches y amamas, bailaban con el número 1 de los Bravos, aquello de los chicos con las chicas tienen que estar. Reclamaban poder convivir antes del matrimonio. 1977, 10 años después, la tolosarra Lourdes Gavarain tuvo que ir a Burdeos, Francia, a correr una maratón. No estaba permitido que mujeres españolas pudiesen correr en España. Sí, las extranjeras. 1978, Palafrugell, Cataluña. Matilde Gómez, Montse Campos, Esther Inés Mañé completaron el podium de la primera maratón donde pudieron participar mujeres en España. Pocos meses después, 1978, Donostia, primera edición de la maratón. Rosita Lavera, todavía en activo, hace podium. María Luisa, Usoa, Amaya, Claudia, Maite, María, Nere, Begoña, Leire, Isabel, María Jesús, Egusquiñe, Eva, Idoia, Eneritz, Macu, Izaro, Ollana. Somos mujeres que en gran medida corremos los 42 kilómetros con sus 195 metros gracias a todas estas pioneras. Ella rompió un techo de cristal, algunos visibles y otros muchos techos que son invisibles todavía. Mila esker, Kathrine. Y entre otras cosas, porque gracias a ella, nuestras entrenadoras y entrenadores no nos obligan a completar 50 kilómetros 3 semanas antes de la maratón para demostrar que somos capaces de hacer una maratón. Una vez más en el deporte, tenemos que demostrar que somos capaces de hacerlo más y mejor para que podamos romper los techos. Eskerrik asko, Kathrine. Aquí también hemos llegado y lo hacemos para quedarnos. Eskerrik asko. Y antes de darle la palabra a Kathrine, creo que hay un vídeo donde alguien nos va a presentar con algún detalle adicional a nuestra protagonista de hoy.
Field of 601 starters braved chilly winds and a steady drizzle in the 71st Boston Marathon.
The 1967 Boston Marathon was run in some of the worst conditions in race history. While most of the crowd was focused on the front of the pack, another runner was making a stir far behind.
The idea of running long distance was always considered very questionable for women because, you know, an arduous activity would mean that you're going to get big legs, and grow a mustache, and hair on your chest, and your uterus was going to fall out.
In 1967, Kathrine Switzer was a junior at Syracuse University. Because Syracuse had no women's track team, she began training with the manager of the men's team, a part-time mailman named Arnie Briggs.
It was Arnie who told me about the greatest day in his life every year, which was the Boston Marathon. And we were out running, and Arnie began telling me another Boston Marathon story. And I said, oh, Arnie, let's just quit talking about the darn marathon and run it. And my dream then became to prove that I could run 26 miles, 385 yards.
For 70 years, the Boston Marathon had excluded women. But Switzer entered using just her initials.
We walked to the start, and the gun went off, and down the street we went. So there we were, Arnie Briggs, the 50-year-old mailman, and me, the 20-year-old college student, and my boyfriend, Tom Miller, the ex-All-American football player. When other runners would come by, they would say, oh, it's a girl, and they were so excited. And all of a sudden, the press truck is in front of us, and they're taking, pictures of us. On this truck was the race director, the feisty guy by the name of Jock Semple. He just stopped the bus, jumped off, and ran after me. And he just grabbed me and screamed at me, get the hell out of my race and give me those numbers. He had the fiercest face of any guy I'd ever seen. And all of a sudden, Big Tom, my boyfriend, came with a streak and gave Jock the most incredible crossbody block and sent Jock flying right through the air and landed on the curb. And all of this happened in front of the press truck. The journalists got very aggressive. What are you trying to prove? Are you a suffragette? Are you a crusader? Whatever that is, And I said, what? I'm just trying to run. Then it got very quiet. Snow's coming down. Nobody's saying anything. And I turned to Arnie and I said, Arnie, I'm going to finish this race on my hands and my knees if I have to. If I don't finish this race, then everybody's going to believe women can't do it. I've got to finish this race. I finished that race in 4 hours, 20 minutes. It wasn't until we stopped on the thruway to get an ice cream and some coffee that we see the newspapers and the coverage front and back of all the different editions with the pictures. I realized that now this was very, very important, and this was going to change my life, and it was probably going to change women's sports. There is an expression in a marathon that you do go through sort of a lifetime of experience. And I often say that I started the Boston Marathon as a girl, and I finished the Boston Marathon as a grown woman.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Kai Shoi. Lagunak. Thank you for having me. It's been wonderful to be here. I can't thank Deusto University enough, and especially Felix Areta for inviting me. And I'd really like to salute the university for their critical thought and their pursuit of truth. It's very more important now than ever before in our lives. So thank you very much for having me. I hope we can have a very, very exciting and fruitful discussion. Sometimes I dedicate my speeches to important people or things that are happening. And today I'd really like to dedicate my speech to the people of the Basque region, and particularly in San Sebastian, for everything you are doing to create the equality for women, especially in this region. It is world famous right now because I don't know anybody in the world who is making this particular effort and being so directed for the 50-50 project. It was my honor to meet and discuss with many outstanding women yesterday who have been leaders of the feminist movement in this region and talking about changes we can make. But all of us together, men and women alike, it's very, very encouraging and outstanding, and I was delighted to see you do this. So I'd like to dedicate my speech today to that effort and to thank you very much for your particular work in this area. Okay, how does this story begin? I'm not going to make a speech today. I'm going to tell you stories, all right? And from these stories, I think we can take some incredibly valuable lessons as we move forward in our lives, particularly for those of you who are students, who can realize that in many ways you're starting your life and beginning to look at things in a way of questioning and debate, and especially in regards to social justice. I never would have imagined that my story would have anything to do with social justice. And that's how often we all begin. We don't see things until they're sometimes thrust upon us. So sometimes I say, and today I will say this also, my speech is often about sometimes the worst things in your life can become the best things in your life. And sometimes the smallest little things can become very big things. And so who would have imagined when I was only 12 years old, I came home from elementary school, leaving elementary school and going to a very big high school with 2,000 other students. I was only 12 years old, and I was leaping into this adult world at a very, very early age because my parents started me very early in school, and also because they put me into an advanced stream, which is something I really don't recommend if you're going to be having children yourself. Let them mature at their own rate. But at any rate, I was very nervous about going off to a big high school, and I decided that the thing to do was to become pretty and popular, was to become a high school cheerleader. And I don't know if you have cheerleaders in Spain, but they rah-rah for other people. And when I told my father that I wanted to be a high school cheerleader, he, a very conservative man, by the way, a military man, he was a big, tall colonel and very, very absolute about things. He said, no, you don't want to do that. You don't want to be a cheerleader. Cheerleaders cheer for other people. You want people to cheer for you. He said, life is to participate, not to spectate. And I said, wow, well, what am I supposed to do? You know, I really want to do something. He said, well, your school has something called a field hockey team, you know, field hockey? And he said, I don't know what it's about, but I know it's about running, and you can run. I've seen you out playing and running around. And I said, well, Dad, I've never played that sport before. I have no idea. And he said, look, all I know is about running, and if you ran 1 kilometer a day, you'd be the best person on the team. My father was very motivating. And I said, 1 kilometer a day, Dad? I couldn't possibly do that. That's like climbing Kilimanjaro. You're going to get this from your kids, and probably you were just like this. Did you give your parents a lot of grief about, I can't do that, it's too hard? Anyway, my father told me that. We measured off our yard, and I began running laps, and it was 7 laps to a mile, so a little bit more than 1 kilometer. And I did this every single day. And I sweated through a very, very hot summer. We lived in Washington, D.C., and by the end of the summer, I felt fabulous. I learned one of my first great life lessons was that for no reason whatever, some days are easy and other days are totally impossible. and that there's no rhyme or reason for this, but that's a very important life lesson to learn at a very early age. And in the end of the summer, I tried out for that field hockey team, and I did make the team. I was so excited. It was really great. I couldn't believe it, and I really was one of the best players because I never got tired, and I could outrun everybody. But the interesting thing was this. It wasn't making the team that made me feel great. What made me feel great was running every day. Not because of the run, but because of the sense of accomplishment. Every day I ran, I had a victory under my belt nobody could take away from me. And for a little girl who was 12 years old and going into high school with adults, and she was still playing dolls when she got home, you can imagine how powerful this made me feel. So I felt when I went into this big environment that I had armor, protection, and a secret weapon that really made me always confident and bold. And it allowed me, as I grew up and matured, to take other chances and risks and challenges. Nothing seemed too difficult. One of the things I did was began writing for my high school newspaper. And I'm going to tell you that story in a minute, but I want to go back to the reason I'm telling you this story about the little girl. The reason is this, is that you all, when you grow up, and even right now, with brothers and sisters, or when you get older, your own children, and when you get really older, your grandchildren, or any kids you see anywhere around you that you're working with, give them the ability to say, you can do that. Tell them that they can do something, that they can succeed. All they have to do is try. The reason being is, at the end of the summer, what I felt was empowered. I didn't feel that I was an athlete. I felt confident. And I grew up feeling that this was magic. Every day I run, and I've been running for 59 years. I still feel it's magic, and it still empowers me. If you remember nothing else from what I tell you today, and I know you're tired students and you're probably falling asleep already. I know how hard it is sometimes when you have a lot of work to do and you have exams and studies. But remember this, that talent and capability is everywhere. It's everywhere in every single person, every child, and in yourself, okay? And it is our moral responsibility as adults, I believe this very strongly, it is our moral responsibility as adults to encourage and create the opportunity for success for every person we meet. And in ourselves, we have to believe this. How different would your life be if somebody had encouraged you from a very, very early age? Many adults in this room are going to say, well, you're all adults, but many older people in this room would say, if somebody had encouraged me at an earlier age, I could have done so much more. Believe in yourself. You, in many ways, are the worst judges of your own capability. You can do much more than you ever believed. You are a miracle of talent and ability. Talent and capability is everywhere. It only needs an opportunity. Remember that. So create that opportunity at every point in your life. Okay. I started writing for the high school newspaper. One reason was because girls never got any publicity in sports. In life, some things never change, okay? That still happens. And so I began writing, and I loved reading J.D. Salinger and T.S. Eliot and E.E. Cummings. And so I began signing my name K.V. Switzer. It's an important part of the story, all right? And it's also about how coincidences can change history, all right? What also happened is my dad misspelled my name on my birth certificate. He left the E out of the Kathrine. Have you seen all these Kathrines around? Okay. And every time my copy went to the typesetter, my name was changed to Kathrine, not Kathrine. And every time I got a paper or a report or a certificate, it always had my name misspelled. It still does. I think every trophy I have in running has my name misspelled on it. But I began signing my name because if J.D. Salinger was a great writer and E.E. Cummings was a great writer, I was going to be a great writer too, and K.V. Switzer was very cool. So that's how I began signing my name. I also began looking at education. I loved sports, but I knew when I got out of high school, there was going to be no sports for girls or women. And I had no examples. In the Olympic Games, the longest event was 400 meters, which was extraordinary. That was only introduced in 1960, all right? So 1 lap around the track, 1 lap only. Because if women did more than that, you know, they'd never have children, they'd turn into a man. These were the prevailing myths, and these myths were very, very strong. So it was sort of assumed by the time you reached maturity that you wouldn't play sports anymore. Girls wouldn't. But I loved my running. I loved my field hockey. I loved playing sports. So I continued to write about them, because if you get an education and work in the area that you love, even if you can't participate, it's never like going to work. So this is a really important tip for you students. If you study and get a job in the thing that is your passion, you will never feel like you're going to work. You will always feel that you're contributing and discovering things. And you will probably work harder than you ever imagined. So I decided to get the best education I could in journalism, and I went to a university in the United States called Syracuse University. It's very high up in New York State, very near the Canadian border, and it's not only known for its journalism school, but it's known for the worst weather in all of the United States, even worse than Anchorage, Alaska. We had, the first year I was there, 9 meters of snow. Okay? So it's very cold. You have to be very motivated to go to school there. Anyway, I went to school at Syracuse University because I wanted a very good degree. Now, this is important. You all are very, very privileged to be at this wonderful university where you have a welcoming and energetic environment. Most students in the world, most, have no opportunities like this. Always remember how lucky you are and to never take this for granted, all right? I got this degree in journalism because I wanted a passport in a man's occupation, which was sports writing. It wasn't just getting the education. I needed the passport. You are past that now. You are getting the education. So concentrate on learning as much as you can. Obviously, women still have a more difficult time in men's professions, but that is breaking down. And right here, again, in the Basque region, when we're working on the 50-50, we're also looking at education and breaking down those barriers in places where we didn't think women wanted to get an education. In STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, where astrophysics and engineering, all these things that women were supposedly not interested in are also figments of people's imagination. When you're conditioned to believe that you can't concentrate or can't think in a way that responds to that field, you naturally won't do it. Naturally, you won't do it. You won't believe you can do it. You have to have the experience, and that's what Deusto University is giving you, the opportunity to look at everything and to try everything. That's very, very important. All right, so here I went to get this really good degree, and when I got to this university, I was really, really shocked. I thought that there would be some kind of women's sports, but there was nothing for women in sports. They had things called play days, like the girls were playing at sports, where men at Syracuse University had 25 sports, and most of them were very, very deep in scholarships. It's an American system that you all don't have. I think that's a good thing that you don't have this. But these scholarships paid the students to participate in sports and paid them by giving them a free education. Well, that's great, except that you didn't get much of an education because you were training and playing sports all the time. So I think it's a very faulty system, but it certainly was very discouraging for me as a woman to get there and be given no opportunities. So when you have no opportunities, you make your own opportunities. And what I did is I went to the track coach, the running coach at the university, and asked if I could run on the men's team. I had a lot of strength. I really believed now that my running could make me do anything. And he could barely keep from laughing. And he said to me, You know, it's against the rules of the university and the collegiate system to have you run on the men's team. But we would welcome you to come and train with the team. And I said, okay, that'd be fine. And as I left his office, I was pulling the door shut behind me. And as I pulled the door shut behind me, just before it closed, I heard him burst out laughing and say to his colleagues, ha, 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 I got rid of her. Well, he was very surprised the next day when I showed up on the cross-country course. I was very nervous, but nobody was going to laugh at my ability to show up. So here's the next thing I wanted to tell you, is that half of success, at least half of success, is showing up. You know Woody Allen, the very talented but slightly disturbed movie director, always said the secret of his success was that he showed up. And the reality is if you show up, things happen. If you stay at home and sit on your hands, nothing happens. You have to show up. And almost always, if you're the one who shows up, you get the job or you get the opportunity. It always happens that way. And sometimes it doesn't work out. Sometimes it's pretty bad. I'll tell you a couple of those. But always you learn something. When I got out to the cross-country course, I was very nervous. Now, let me give you the time. This is 1966. I think nobody in this room was born by that time. Were any of you born? And you were born in 1966? I'm really glad to hear that. Okay. It was the eve of the first women's liberation movement. After the suffragette movement in the 1920s in the United States, women got the right to vote in 1920. But in 1966, women were beginning to protest for equal education, equal rights, equal pay in the workplace, child care, birth control. All of these things I agreed with. I absolutely agreed with it. But I didn't understand why women needed to go in this time in New York, and they were sitting in men's-only bars, drinking places, right? These bars were really icky, dirty bars. Why would you want to go sit in there in some kind of men's bar where they wanted to drink alone and smoke their cigars? Let them have their space. Who wants to do that? Life is more enriching than sitting at a bar. So I was very conflicted about the women's liberation movement. But when I showed up on the cross-country course, I was very nervous because I thought that the men on the team would say, oh, she's just there to be in our face, you know, that I was trying to make a statement to them. So I was very nervous, a little defensive, but all of these guys came over to me and said, hey, it's great that you're here. Wish we'd, have other girls show up and run. This is terrific. We're with you all the way. One guy in particular ran over to me like a jackrabbit. He was jumping around. He said, I've been here for 30 years and we've never had a girl before. This guy was a volunteer coach, and his name was Arnie Briggs. And you saw him on the videotape. Arnie Briggs was the university mailman. He went door to door and delivered the mail at the university and people's houses. And in Syracuse, New York, where there is 9 meters of snow, he had to walk through this snow and the slush and the gloom every day, and he did this as fast as he could, so at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, he could run out to the cross-country course and run with the boys' track team. And he did this because he was a marathon runner. Now, you all know what a marathon is, 42.2 kilometers, and one of the greatest marathons in the world is the Boston Marathon, which is about a 6-hour drive from Syracuse, New York. And Arnie had run the Boston Marathon 15 times. And this was the greatest day in his life. This was a day he was the hero in his own life. This was the day when a little mailman had his name in the paper, ran, won a trophy. The girls at Wellesley College would rush out and kiss all the runners, and he got kissed by the women. And his people would clap for him and cheer for him for 42 kilometers. He felt fabulous, and he was willing to pay the training price just to run this one race. So when I was out there on the course and he came running over to me and said he'd been there for 30 years and they'd never had a girl, he began slightly running with me. He was injured, bad knees, bad Achilles. He thought his days of running were really over. But he could keep up with me because I was so slow. I was so slow that I got lost on the course every single day. And the guys would laugh and they thought it was funny. But anyway, Arnie would run with me. And pretty soon, he was feeling better. His injuries are healing and we would run together. And every day, to keep me going and keep me motivating, he would tell me another Boston Marathon story. It was kind of like you as kids, you know, your parents would read to you at night. Arnie would tell me another story of the Boston Marathon. So I grew up on these great heroes of the sport. And they're legendary names like Tarzan Brown and Clarence DeMar. And I heard all these names, and suddenly I was falling in love with the marathon also. And now this is a student story as well, because one night it was dark, and it was a blizzard, the snow was coming down. We couldn't see anything. We were out running about 15 Ks. We should never have been out running in this. It was very dangerous. And I was very irritated and cranky because it was during exams. And I had a big exam the next day, and I was totally unprepared. I spent most of my time when I was this year at the university asleep in my classes because I trained so hard that I would fall asleep and couldn't stay awake to do any of my classes. And Arnie could tell that I was very irritated and snippy with him. And he began another Boston Marathon story, and I snapped at him and said, "Oh, let's just quit talking about the darn marathon and run it." And he said, "A woman can't run a marathon?" And I said, "What?" He said, "A woman can't run a marathon." And I said, "Why not?" And he said, "Because women are too weak and too fragile." And I said, "What? We're running in a blizzard. We're running 20 Ks in a blizzard, Arnie." And he said, 20 Ks is not 42 Ks. And I said, "I know that, Arnie, but why can't I possibly do this?" And he said, "Because with women, it's the law of diminishing returns." And I said, what does that mean? And he said, "When the race gets longer, it gets harder." And I said, "No kidding." That's the whole point of a marathon, is that it gets harder as it gets longer. We argued. And I told Arnie that in history, there were about 6 women who had run the marathon distance. They didn't wear a bib number, a dorsal. They didn't wear a dorsal, and so they didn't get much attention. And he didn't believe that. Even at Boston the year before, a woman had jumped out of the bushes and run the race without a number. He wouldn't believe that. He got very angry. He said, "No woman ever ran any marathon." And I said, "And you don't have a training partner unless you believe that a woman can do it." And it was really interesting. He said, "You know, if any woman could do it, I believe you could do it. But you'd have to show me in practice." And he said, "If you showed me in practice that you could do the distance, I'd be the first person to take you to Boston." Right. What's the secret of success? Somebody gives you a challenge. Somebody gives you a goal. Somebody gives you a focus. And if you're lucky, you have a coach. If you are really lucky, you have a buddy. A buddy is somebody you run with every day or you work with every day. A buddy is somebody who shares the burden and the load, who never keeps you waiting, is there in the dark and in the rain. You tell this person the secrets of your soul and they never go further than the course. Do you have a buddy? Maybe it's your study partner, somebody you work with on a project. Buddy is really important. Anyway, I had a buddy in Arnie, and I had a very big goal. We trained and trained and trained and trained. One day came, we were going to run 42 kilometers. It was about a month before the Boston Marathon. And we started early in the morning because it was going to take all day. And when we finished now our 42 kilometers, Arnie was saying to me, "Wow, you look great. You look great. I can't believe it." And I said, "You know, Arnie, I feel too good." He said, "How could you feel too good?" I said, "I feel too good, Arnie. I don't think we measured the course correctly." And he said, No, it's a long course." And I said, No. We got to know when we go to Boston, no matter what, we can finish this race. He said, what do you want to do? And I said, let's keep going. Let's run another 10Ks. He said, can you run another 10Ks? I said, sure, I feel great. Can you? And he goes, oh, I guess. And off we went into the gloom again and coming back in. Now it's 50Ks, all right? And the last K, all of a sudden, Arnie starts weaving across the road, and his eyes are gone. And I said, come on, we can do this, we can do this. I pulled him along with me. I said, come on, we can do it, we can do it. And we finished our 50Ks. I said, we did it, we're going to Boston. I threw my arms around him, and he fainted. And when he came to, he said, women have hidden potential and endurance and stamina. And we had discovered the most amazing thing, that the longer it got, the better I got. That I could go for a great distance, but I couldn't go fast. That I could run forever, but I couldn't have the strength and speed of the guys. So this was really an incredible thing that we had discovered. Arnie was terribly afraid of taking me over this distance because he was afraid of the old myths that somehow I would turn into a man or that he would ruin my body or something. And he thought we were sailing on a flat earth and that we would fall off. And I felt like Magellan. I felt every day I was discovering a whole new world. It was absolutely phenomenal feeling for me. Now I want to skip ahead 50 years. To today. What are we discovering? So some of this is a metaphor. I hope you guys are getting this. This is a metaphor what's happening now, which is 50 years. Now, we know now that women have more endurance, more stamina, more flexibility, more balance than men. All right? We will never have the speed, the power, and the strength of men. But for 3,000 years of Olympic sports has been, for men, about speed, power, and strength. So that's what we have as our design model, right? Now that we are emerging, we are finding that women's capabilities also are good for sports. We just haven't created them yet. This professor runs 100 Ks. And she is very good. She is winning championship events. 100 Ks. We're winning 6-day races. We're winning 24-hour runs. We're winning 100-mile events. Just because the Olympics has a particular program that's been around for 3,000 years doesn't mean we can't invent things to take advantage of women's unique capabilities. This isn't about men versus women, women versus men. This is about us finding our own unique great capabilities and working together. And by the way, for those of you who are interested in sports and sports management, I believe there's a very good revenue stream here to create, to create these events. Because here's another example. I remember when the triathlon was a barroom bet, okay? There were 3 hunky guys. One was a cyclist, one was a swimmer, one was a runner. And they said, I'm tougher than you, you're tougher than, I'm tougher, tough. They decided to create an Ironman triathlon. Now the triathlon is in the Olympic Games. Now the Ironman is one of the richest sports franchises in the world. Okay? Why can't we create this for women? And we will. We will. It's a matter of time. But if women have unique capabilities in sport, they also have unique capabilities in business. They also have unique capabilities in education and in learning that we haven't yet discovered. When we come to the table together, to the boardroom together, when we start organizing business in a way women can bring things to bear that will enhance that business, and just as surely as men have had that model for years, women can add to this and enhance and make it a better business. It's been proven again and again that businesses that have diversity and inclusion and have women in the boardroom are more successful businesses. We just need to come together and talk about it and create it together and enhance each other. I happen to think that running is an extremely good design model. I know I've been talking about running, but I'm trying to use running as a metaphor here. Try to imagine this, okay? That running is not about who's really fastest. In a marathon, very few people are concerned about winning. In a marathon, and like in San Sebastian and Bohobia on Sunday, there were 30,000 people there, and there were probably only 5 guys who were really capable of winning the race, and probably only 5 women who were capable of winning the race. The rest of the people wanted to do as best they could, but mostly to finish and have a wonderful experience and have the satisfaction of conclusion, right? And that's what this is all about, is us supporting each other and motivating each other. By the way, all the men in that race, 24% women, but all the men in that race were wonderful to the women in the race. They were wonderful to me and very, very, very supportive. So let's look at this in a bigger scheme, okay? The major marathons have transformed the cities of this world. London, New York, Chicago, Boston. On those days, the crime rate is at its lowest in those cities. This is a day when people come out of their houses and they talk to each other. You saw it on Sunday. The streets of San Sebastian were filled with people having a wonderful time talking to each other. They probably hadn't talked to each other since the year before at San Sebastian, right? So there we are. And I would like to also say another thing about this sport, which is amazing and can be a design model for all of us. Last year, I ran the New York City Marathon again, 43 years after I won the race. And 6 days before the race, a terrorist drove a truck into cyclists and runners on the West Side Highway in New York, 6 days before the marathon. He killed people. It was a terrible thing, and New York was spun into a real disaster. People called me, the press called me. You can't run, they said. 50,000 people. The security is too dangerous. They should cancel the race. I said, there are 50,000 people running, and they're all strangers to me, but I would trust every one of them with my life. 50,000 people, I would trust any one of them in that race with my life. I'm running, and the man next to me is a different color. He speaks a different language. He's obviously have a totally different cultural background. The woman on my right has an orientation I don't know. And I don't care. We don't care what you look like, what color you are, whether you're male or female, what your orientation is. We're there to motivate and support each other. And I say at the end of this race, I'm going to hug these 2 people, stinking and sweaty, and it has nothing to do with sex or violence. This is really, really important to understand in this era, because if we can do it in running in our major cities around the world with 50 and 60,000 people at a time, why can't we do it in life? Why can't we do it in business? We're beginning to do it in education in a very big way. And this university is making a very big step in that direction. It's great. So think about that. Think about how that model would work. But now we're back at the Boston Marathon, right? 50 years back. Let's go back again. Where when I finished the workout, Arnie, my coach, then becomes very businesslike. He said, okay, I've got all the paperwork. You have to fill out the entry forms. You have to send in your $2 entry fee. So they're going to laugh about that. The entry fee for Boston, I think, is $400 now. But anyway, and we have to get medical certificates. We had to get travel certificates. It was very, very complicated to enter the Boston Marathon in those days. And I said, Arnie, why do I have to enter the race? And he said, this is a serious race. You can't just go and show up and do this. You can't just jump in a race like this. I said, why not? And he said, this is really important. He said, because when you are official, it's when it counts. It's like giving women the right to vote. It doesn't count just to say, oh, well, you know, we know who you support. You need to be able to write the ballot and put it in the box. You need to be official. You need to count for something. So I said, okay, but Arnie, what if it's against the rules? Because no woman has done this before. He said, I knew you'd ask that. We got out the rule book. You know what? There was nothing about the marathon being for men only. I said, oh boy. And we looked at the entry form. There was nothing about gender on the entry form. Whew, I said, Arnie, okay, I'll fill this out. but I'm going to be noticed at Arnie. I'm going to be noticed at Boston, Arnie. I'm going to be noticed. He said, I know, and I'm proud of you. It was really great. This guy who was 50 years old, I was 19, and we were as different as chalk and cheese. And he now said, I'm proud of you. So I filled out the entry form, and how did I sign it? I signed it KV Switzer. This is a coincidence you couldn't possibly have made up. I signed my name that way, the entry form went in, and obviously they thought that KV was a guy, not a woman. So I might not be here telling you this story. All right, so I got the bib numbers. Arnie picked up our team numbers. It was snowing and sleeting. We had on heavy warm-up suits to stay warm. From a distance, we all looked alike. Everybody in the race wore everything they owned. It was so cold and snowing and sleeting, and we were huddling together. And you know what? Every guy that was around me came over to me and said, I wish my wife would run. I wish my girlfriend would run. I said, this is great. You know, everybody is so supportive. And Arnie was walking around like the proud father. He was so excited about it. The gun went off. Down the street we went. We were so excited and laughing and waving and people going by. The happiest moment in a marathon is when you don't have to win and you have the first few miles of joy, pure joy. It was like pilgrims going to Mecca. It was fantastic. Anyway, then all of a sudden, at 2 kilometers, beep, 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 comes the press truck. And the press truck is taking pictures. They went crazy seeing me in the race. You saw this on the video. The race director on this bus was being teased by journalists. He lost his temper, jumped off the bus, ran after me and attacked me and said, get the hell out of my race and give me those numbers, and proceeded to rip off my bib number. There it is, right? And there's the corner where he was ripping it off, all right. But I kept them because my boyfriend, as you saw, smashed the official. Now, I wouldn't have hit the official. I don't believe in that kind of violence, although he was attacking me. He was out of control. He really was out of control. And when my boyfriend flattened him, that's when I got really afraid. I said, oh my God, you know, we're going to go to jail now because we've hurt this guy. I thought he'd killed him. And Arnie, my coach, his eyes were big, like he said, run like hell. And down the street we went as fast as we could go, woo, running like this. And the press truck was alongside of us, and they are so aggressive and mean to me. And I was in such a state. Here I was so young, and people were shouting at me, and it was my first big race, and I thought, what have I done wrong? What have I done wrong? And I thought for a split second, just a split second, that I should step off the course, because I wanted to go home to my mother. And then I got angry, which was wonderful. And I realized if I didn't finish that race, nobody would believe women could do it. I could not finish. I could not step off the course. I had to finish the race. Because if I didn't, everybody would say what they'd been saying about women for years and years. Oh, when women try to do something in a man's world, they can't do it. So I had to finish the race. The marathon's a difficult race. Anything can happen. A dog can bite you, you can get hit by a car, you can get diarrhea. All things like this happen in a marathon. You just get exhausted. It couldn't happen to me. I had to finish the race. And when I turned to Arnie and I said, I'm finishing this race on my hands and my knees if I have to, he said, okay, let's just get it together, let's get calm and make it happen. One of the great things about running and running a long distance is you can't run and stay angry. And by the time I got to Heartbreak Hill, which is at 33 Ks in the race, my anger was gone. I had murdered the official every way a person could be murdered by that time. And when I got to Heartbreak Hill, I realized it wasn't his fault. He was just a man of his time. And it was up to me and other women to show him a different look. Then I got angry at women. I said, where are the women? Why aren't the women here? These women just don't get it. And then I said, you are the stupidest girl in the world. They're not here because they're afraid. They've been told myths all their lives, and by the time they're 20, they don't believe they can do anything. They believe those myths. They believe they'll turn into a man or get big legs or something terrible will happen to them. And therefore, they would never dream of running something like a marathon or taking a chance with an education or trying for a better job. They cut off their options because they kept believing what they were told. They had no opportunity for anything else. Remember what I said? Talent and capabilities everywhere. It only needs an opportunity. So by the time I finished the race, I had come to two conclusions of what I wanted to do. One, I wanted to become a better athlete, because when I finished in 4 hours and 20 minutes, I knew people would tease me. They'd say it's a jogging time, and they did. They said, oh, it doesn't really count. She was just jogging. That's just a jogging time. Anybody could do it. Even the race director who attacked me said, I could walk it that fast. Right, okay? Anyway, so I wanted to become a better athlete to prove people wrong. But the more important thing is I wanted to create the opportunities for women. But I didn't yet know what that looked like. So let me jump to training. This is interesting. As students, you should know this. When you work hard, you get results. This is a very simple part of the story. I became a very good athlete. And it's interesting because I am not talented, but I have an enormous capacity for work. And I was determined to become better. Also because I was physiologically curious. What can my body do? I didn't want to be 40 and wonder. Your body is amazing, just like your mind. And when it got better and better and better, it was intoxicating, this feeling of getting better. When I finally ran a just 2 hour and 51-minute marathon, it was the third best time in the US and sixth best time in the world. Then I won the New York City Marathon. And then I realized if I could do that, think of the talent that existed that never had an opportunity. If I could create the opportunity for other women, we could see enormous, enormous things happen. So my drive then began to say, okay, we need to make women's running official. Then women can believe that it's good for them. And my drive began then to say, okay, let's get the women's marathon into the Olympic Games. I want to tell you, people thought I was smoking poppy when I told them this. They thought I was a crazy person. The longest event in the Olympic Games is 1,500 meters, and you're going to put in a marathon? You're crazy. I said, I'm not crazy. They said, it'll never work. I wrote a great business proposal. You know what? The journalism skills I had from journalism school really paid off. Not just in journalism, but I could write a really good business proposal. I took it to the world's largest cosmetics company at the time, Avon Cosmetics, and told them that they would get great publicity by sponsoring a women's-only series of races, and I would organize it for them. I never thought in a million years that they would be interested. They hired me. They hired me. Oh my God, I went home, I said, what do I do now? Well, I knew exactly what to do. I got to work, and within 3 years, we had 400 races in 27 countries with over 1 million women participating. And every single country I went to, the federation said to me, women in our countries are not going to run. No, they won't run. I said, I'm going to do this anyway. We put on the event anyway. The women didn't come by their hundreds, they came by their thousands, because somebody gave them an opportunity. If somebody gave you an opportunity to do something you love that you never had before, wouldn't you be there? Of course you'd be there. It was amazing. Country to country, including Spain, we gathered these races together and proved that we had international representation that could get us into the Olympic Games, and we had the talent and the capability, and we put them together, and then, the most important thing, we got really good doctors who got together and proved medically that women have more endurance capability than they ever believed, and that the marathon distance is probably better for them than the 100 meters or the shot put, because we're good at the distance. Women are naturally good at the distance. And we voted the marathon into the Olympic Games in the Los Angeles Olympics, 1981 for the 1984 Games. And when the first woman came into that Olympic stadium in 1984, to me, it was as important as giving women the right to vote, because this was the physical equivalent of what the vote was. The vote was about our intellectual and social acceptance. This is about our physical acceptance. So that I thought would change the world. And in many ways it did, not because of the 90,000 people in the Olympic Stadium, but because of the 2.2 billion people that watched the event on television. Because everybody knows that 42.2 kilometers is a long way to run. A long way to run. And here were women running it for the first time, but beautifully. So what this proves to us is that, once again, if we work hard and create those opportunities, we can overcome so much social prejudice, so much physical prejudice, and prove that women can do much more than we ever believed, that people can do much more than we ever believed. The next thing that happened is that I became a television commentator. You know why? Because I showed up again. When the ABC did the broadcast of the Olympic Games in Los Angeles, I got this phone call that said, there's this new event in the Olympic Games called the Women's Marathon, and we don't know anything about it. And I said, I know a lot about it. Great, they said, you've got the job. See, if you show up, you're there, you know about it, you get the job. Really, it works every time. And so there I started a whole new career in television commentary, because my drive at that point was not just to have a career, but was to tell the world in the biggest way possible what this was all about, and how this was socially important, and how women's running is not just about these events, but it's about the social revolution of women believing in themselves, of becoming empowered, and of having the ability to change their lives and to change the world around them, country by country. Sometimes when you succeed at doing something really big, you think, wow, that's the top. You know, I can't do better than that in my life. And then who would have believed, one of the more amazing things, is that old bib number suddenly became a number meaning fearless in the face of adversity. Because of the internet, the story you saw in the video suddenly was going around the world. And people began writing to me and saying, I'm running San Sebastian tomorrow with bib number 596 on my chest, but I'm wearing 261 on my back because it makes me feel fearless. I thought, isn't that nice? Oh, it's really nice. I thought of this bib only as 3 digits for 45 years, and then all of a sudden, people began sending me these pictures from all over the world. Somebody from the Basque Country actually sent me some pictures, from Paraguay and from Tokyo and from Poland and Chicago, and these people didn't know each other. What kind of synchronicity was this? Why was this happening? When the people began sending me pictures of their tattoos, then I got really nervous. I got kind of creepy, you know? And I said, if they're tattooing my bib number, what does this mean to them? This is what it means. It means that everybody in the world has been told at one time or the other, you're not good enough. You don't belong. You're not cool. You're too fat to be an athlete. You're not pretty. You don't belong. You're on the wrong side of the tracks. You're the wrong race. You're the wrong religion. You don't belong. And then you go do something like run, and you become fearless. And you absolutely know that you can't pay attention to any of the myths, any of the garbage that's coming to you. You are fearless. What are you going to do with this now, Kathrine? I said, what are you going to do? It's too powerful. People were already taking it, and I thought, oh my God, Nike's going to create 261 Fearless or something. And I decided, okay, there's one last thing I really want to do. There are, in this world, and this is the sad part of the story, more women who live in fearful situations than are fearless. Most of the women in the world live in a fearful situation. And we think, okay, she's in Afghanistan, or she's in Saudi or North Africa. She's probably your next door neighbor. All right? And we need to reach these people. This is a women's story, but we need this as much for men. People are fearful. And when they're fearful, they're hateful, they're prejudiced, they have no concept of social justice because they've never had any social justice. We've decided to take 261 Fearless. We've created a nonprofit foundation. We're going around the world creating community clubs where we show women simply how to get out the door, come with me, walk with me, run with me, and I'll show you how to have a sense of empowerment you've never had before, just by this simple transformation. It is so simple, cheap, easy, and accessible, and it works. It works. We've seen women in Africa who are the most third-class citizens I have ever seen in my life, who spend the entire day walking with water on their head, and their little children, only 3 years old, walking all day with water on their head, because the water that's the only way they're going to have sanitary water. And the water, they don't have wells, they don't have an education. That's their whole life. And when these women have started running, some of them have become very good, actually win prize money, and then go back to their villages, they sanitize the water, they inoculate the kids, and they build a school. This is how society changes when you give somebody a very simple opportunity. For those of you who are looking at these different models, realize that opportunity is everything. Create that opportunity for people, but create it in yourself. Believe this. And also that every time you see a social injustice, you can pick it up and make a change. It doesn't have to be a big one. It can be just a little one. It can be a little kid on the street. And if you just simply say, attaboy or attagirl, you can do this. You can change that kid's life, and that kid can go and change the world. It is very, very simple. So this is the model I want you to realize. Also, that every time you pass by a social injustice, every time you pass by one, you take a drop of bitterness in your life that stays there forever. Make the change you possibly can make. It doesn't have to be a world change, just a little one. Just a little one. That makes a very big difference. So the last thing I want to talk to you about, I'm over time, okay. It takes 1 minute. I'm going to end on a video, but don't play it yet. Just let me say this. Is that as you age, your life continues. You don't sit on the sofa and sit on your hands and retire and not do things. The more active you can be, the more engaged you can be with society, the better change happens. Not only for yourself, because we've proved it scientifically that active people, as they age, live longer, live better, live more healthy lives, okay? Because physical activity actually keeps the heart and muscles working, which keeps you healthy, all right? But it's the brain also that needs activity and engagement. Social injustice is everywhere, and your wisdom as you get older can be passed on to another generation, and together you can make incredible change in education and in business and even just in your own community. So I just want to say that there's a reason I am dressed the way I'm dressed today, which is I was told to wear business clothes today. These are now my business clothes. Because at 68 years of age, Adidas gave me my first elite athlete contract. Can you imagine being 68 and being an elite athlete? Okay, now I'm 71, I'm still an elite athlete. These are my business clothes. You can't imagine what's going to happen in your life, but you have to be open for the opportunity. All right? Now let's look at a videotape, and as this ends, let me just say, age well, be happy, pass on everything you know to the next generation. So if we could look at this videotape. Maybe?
As Kathrine Switzer fires the gun, sending a field of elite women running into the streets, she remembers a time 50 years ago when that seemed impossible.
It was thought if you did anything arduous, you were going to get big legs, grow hair on your chest, turn into a man, your uterus was going to fall out.
In 1967, when she told a men's track coach she wanted to run the Boston Marathon,
he said, no dame ever ran no marathon.
Switzer registered with her initials, KV, and pinned on bib 261. 2 miles in, somebody on the press bus spotted her, and race director Jock Semple ran onto the course.
He grabbed me like this and he threw me back and he said, get the hell out of my race and give me those numbers, and tried to pull my bib numbers off.
Switzer's boyfriend knocked him away, and she kept running.
I said, I'm going to finish this race on my hands and my knees if I have to.
In that moment, Switzer changed the course of women's running. She's since run 39 marathons. And she founded 261 Fearless, a nonprofit for women runners around the world, encouraging them to do the impossible.
Once they start running, they realize they can do so much more than they ever believed, and they can get a better job, or they can get an education, or they can leave a bad relationship.
Or even keep running at 70, like Switzer, competing again today, a half-century after the first time.
I just ran the fastest marathon I'd run in 46 years.
The woman who started it all, not finished yet. Kristen Dahlgren, NBC News, Boston.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks. Thanks. Can I take this one? We're too far apart. Here, let's do this. What? Strong? Right? Strong? Yes. Ah, yeah. There we go. Good. Okay. Good. Thank you.
Yes?
Yeah, yeah. Good.
Bueno, eskerrik asko, Kathrine, muchísimas gracias, thank you very much. Ha sido una conferencia, una ponencia, yo creo que excelente, y seguro que hay muchísimas preguntas que supongo que llegarán ahora las cartulinas. Iritsiko dia orain, suposatzen dut, lehen galderak. Bai hemendik edo agian baita Bilboko lagunek ere agian nahi dituzte galderak egin eta bueno, saiatuko naiz labur batzuk aukeratzen. 15 minutu izango ditugu, vamos a tener 15 minutos y voy a intentar seleccionar algunas preguntas, tanto de aquí como de Bilbao, pues estudiantes que nos están siguiendo por streaming desde allá. En 1963, y empieza usted en el deporte en 1967, todavía hay otros tantos techos de cristal. ¿Cuántos techos de cristal tenemos todavía? Do you have the translation? No?
No. Oh, sorry.
Yeah?
I think it's... Duh.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
A boy and a girl, I don't know who is, but it's asking about the ceiling. We have a lot of ceilings. Which are?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes?
No? What do I do?
Yes? They ask about ceiling that we have a lot of barriers.
Yes?
And
the glass ceiling.
Yes?
Thank you, Felix. Can you fix that for me?
Yes.
Okay.
Do we have, again, we have some ceilings, some barriers. Women have barriers. Which are those?
Oh, there are many barriers.
Yeah.
They're huge. Mostly, first of all, it's an interesting era that we're in. Okay, great. Thank you. It's an interesting time we're living in right now, where women at last have been given permission, but they have not completely stepped up to take the responsibility. Mm-hmm. And I'm very encouraged this last week in the United States, 124 women are actually in our House of Representatives, which is very, very exciting for me, because at last a generation of women who have their degrees and their belief in themselves are willing to take the risk and the responsibility and step up. Before it had been very difficult because they didn't have a support system, but now men and women are supporting each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
But yes, there are barriers.
Yes.
But the barriers are not in education anymore. I mean, I can remember I was an adult woman. I was in my 20s, and Harvard still refused women in medical school and in law school. And I can remember the first women who were admitted to law school. It was really quite astonishing that this was in the 70s and early 80s that this was still happening. Now, the barriers often are self-imposed. I don't think that Deusto, for instance, are going to keep women from getting into astrophysics, but women themselves have to believe that they have the mental capability for this, that is not just a man's world.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. How do you explain the resistance to women's participation in events? How do you explain the resistance to women's participation in events today, and especially the resistance of other women?
Yeah. It's very interesting that when people would give me a hard time about my running, the women were the worst to me. And that was hurtful to me. In fact, I can remember one night running with my coach, and the only people who ever ran me off the road were women drivers. And I remember saying to my coach, why is it always a woman? And he said, because she's jealous of you. And I said, but all she has to do is put on her shoes and run. And he said, you know that, I know that, she doesn't yet know that. And that was my motivating factor to help her to begin running. And of course, that's very difficult when women don't support other women. That is the biggest change I have seen. I said to him, oh, well, she's going to be my best friend when she's 40. And that's true, that's happened. But the interesting thing is we just needed time for women not to be afraid to step out and support other women. That's one of the biggest changes we have now, is that women are very supportive. Yesterday at our forum with the Council on Equality, it was great to have these women there working together. In running, the men are very supportive of women's running, and women themselves, I find, are quite supportive. They need more to believe in themselves.
Of course, that's true.
Yeah.
Euskeraz, gero itzuliko dut, Bilbon, kirol soziologiako ikasleak, lehenengo zorionak, felicidades por la ponencia, muchísimas gracias por estar aquí y por haber dado el paso, y pregunta, ¿qué habría que hacer en el mundo del deporte para eliminar la masculinidad del deporte? ¿Qué habría que hacer para cambiar esa perspectiva masculina del deporte?
Well, a great deal has been done already in terms of certainly women's tennis and women's soccer. I think that the idea of women's sports being masculine is almost passé now. Certainly, when you look at the women who are running San Sebastian, I mean, they're incredibly good looking, but in a way, who cares? We're appreciating what we do as athletes, which is important. This is different from a gender differentiation thing. That's a different question. But the perception of women being masculine in sport has I think really become quite passé. And I think, for instance, what's happened is that we have developed a really unique ability to appreciate women's sports for their unique difference of capability. Let's say women's tennis and men's tennis are completely different sports now, but I know many, many men, and I certainly do, prefer to watch women's tennis because it's a different game. It has more finesse and has much more strategy involved. And soccer also. I prefer women's soccer. I know that's horrible to say here. Women's soccer to men's soccer because it's a cleaner game, and they play without any histrionics. No diving and no fake things. But and I think in time we're going to see different versions of the sports emerge. But I also believe truly we're going to see sports that you guys are going to create that we can't even imagine right now, that are going to be using women's unique capabilities.
Euskeraz da galdera, itzuliko dut. Nire alabak 15 urte ditu, duela hilabete bat berria egunkariaren azalean agertu zen, bere argazki bat, hain zuzen zure argazkia, Kathrinen argazkiarekin batera. Nire alabari eta beste nerabe batzuei, elkarrizketa egin zieten bere herriko jaietan, ez dietelako parte hartzen uzten, Hondarribiako alardean ezin dute parte hartu, neskek. Zer mezu emango zenieke? Dice una persona participante, que siendo de Hondarribi, su hija de 15 años salió en Berria en portada, justo el día que Kathrine también era portada por su llegada a Donosti, a la Universidad de Deusto. Su hija, con 15 años, no puede participar en el alarde. ¿Cuál sería el mensaje?
Well, I don't know why that is. I don't see a problem. What difference does it make? I think there is a place for the men to have their domain, and I think there's a place for women to have their domain.
Yeah.
For instance, with my foundation, 261 Fearless, our clubs are women-only clubs, because we're trying to create a welcoming, non-intimidating environment. But for something that's an open parade and open to public joy, I don't see why there would be an issue with having a woman.
There is a traditional, it's a culture, a folklore, and there are some resistance to being part women in this event.
Yes, but we used to have these all-men cooking clubs too, and now the women come in and then they can cook. So we're sharing so much more now. I mean, men, if people expect women to work and have a job, and we want to do that, we shouldn't also be burdened with doing everything at home and childcare. And I'm meeting many couples where they share totally, and there's no problem with that. That it's an equal partnership. It's a team.
Yeah. And what about your future projects? What are your immediate priorities? Could you mention a specific project that you have in your hands now?
Sure. I think I ended my speech actually with my project, 261 Fearless. I think I have to tell you, to begin a whole new huge project at age 68, which is I started this project, I really didn't want to do it. I said to my team, I'm too old for another revolution. And they said, no. And now I find myself working harder than I've ever worked in my life for this. And I believe it's going to be my legacy eventually. But what's also frightening about it is sometimes you begin things in your life and you don't know how they're going to end, but you see how they end, which is the stories I gave you. Now I've begun a project that I will not see the end of, because it probably will not reach fruition until I'm dead. And that's quite scary for me. I just have to believe, and I do, that it's in very good hands. I believe very, very strongly in the generation that's here. I believe that they are open-minded, that they are fair, and that they are champions of social justice, that they have learned from everything that we have tried to teach them, but they learn more now, which is great, and that you're going to carry this torch forward. One of the most amazing things about running the Boston Marathon 50 years after I first ran it was the sensation of coming across the finish line. First of all, imagine I was in the race 50 years ago. I was the only woman with a dorsal. 50 years later, I had 13,000 women with me wearing a dorsal. It was so exciting. And when I crossed the finish line, I honestly said, okay, God, you can take me now. I can die. Because I felt very confident about the women in that race, and the women out here in the audience, and the men too, who will take that message forward and help continue to change lives in a very positive way. So that's, I would say, is my biggest project. My other project is a very simple one, is that my house at home is a mess. It's a mess. Do you know what a hoarder is? Is a person who stacks up all kinds of things. My house looks like a hoarder lived there. So I'm leaving Spain a day earlier. Felix changed my ticket for me because he knows I have to go in my house with a big shovel and get rid of all the paper and things that have piled up.
¿Qué se siente cuando alguien como Javier Muguruza le escribe una canción? ¿Le había pasado alguna vez? A mí me ha parecido maravilloso, dice uno de los participantes en el coloquio.
You know, nobody has sung to me before. Nobody has created a song. People have created funny poems, you know, jokey poems, but not a beautiful song. And it was very difficult for me to hear you because I was very emotional. And I said, come on, I've got to get ready to talk. I got to keep my focus. So it was very, very nice, and I thank you so much. It was beautiful. Thank you. Let's thank for him. Thank you. So many questions.
Yes, but I'm choosing some of them because there are a lot of them, and we don't have much time.
I know, I took too
but
much
I have a couple of questions. ¿Qué te lleva a defender la libertad en el mundo del deporte? En estos momentos, al ser una mujer, y bueno, pues habla de las agallas de luchar y de luchar pese a todas las dificultades. ¿Qué le lleva a defender la libertad?
Freedom is everything. The question, obviously, is what is freedom to me? Freedom is everything. I sign often my books. I say, be fearless, be free, and be grateful. Because if you're fearless, you're trying to be free. And if you're free, you're fearless. So freedom is everything. It's freedom of thought, of movement, of belief. But the price of freedom is constant vigilance. It's constant work. We have to work every single day to keep our freedom. People always want to take freedom from you. They will always want to take it from you because some people want the power and the control. But, you know, that's the most important thing for me is my freedom. And that's one reason why I run, you know. I don't run, I run to break my stress. I run to be close to God. I run to be in nature. I run to be creative, but I run for the sense of freedom.
Yeah, that's okay. ¿Qué crees que hace falta para que atletas mujeres se conviertan también en referencias, en ídolos, tales como Lipchoke o Mo Farah o Usain Bolt? ¿Qué hace falta para que atletas mujeres también sean referencia de chicos, de chicas, de hombres y de mujeres?
So this is going to surprise you. People say, why can't we get more publicity for women's sports? Why aren't women's sports as popular and publicizable as men? And I say to women, or men, I said, when is the last time you bought a ticket? You know? We support men's football. Everybody goes to see Real Madrid or Barcelona or the Bohobia team. But do you go? You buy a ticket to the women's team? You know, even I am bad about that. We need to make it popular and publicizable. And when we show up and we support, then the media is more interested too. And then women become the heroes. People rise to the acclaim. We all love attention and notoriety. And when people applaud us, we try harder. I mean, don't you? You go faster when you get to the crowd, right? Yeah. And then you think, okay, maybe I too could be a role model. And then these heroes develop. So yes, one of the most important things is that we actually support the women themselves, and it will happen. I'm finding that there's some women athletes, particularly in tennis, we've seen this, where the men's support has been phenomenal. Also, and often in marathon running, the men's support has been phenomenal. But we have a long way to go with women's football.
Bien, ez du ematen denborari galdera guztiak egiteko, baina laburbilduz, galderak baino gogoeta batzuk ere baditugu. Hay, más que preguntas, hay cartulinas con reflexiones. Primero dando las gracias a Kathrine por estar aquí y por haber lanzado este mensaje tan inspirador, tan motivador para tantas personas. También reflexiones de qué tan importante es visibilizar la presencia de la mujer en distintos ámbitos. Y me he guardado una última cartulina, una última pregunta para lanzar, y es un reto más que pregunta. Dicen por aquí, a ver si vas a estar aquí en the Basque Country, a ver si vas a estar en Euskadi en el 2025 para poder correr la Beovia.
You know, I was thinking of that last night. I was thinking that I wanted to come back next year and run Behovia because I planned to run this year and I have a slight injury. I mean, it was a big year for me last year. I ran Boston, then I ran the New York City Marathon, and then I ran the London Marathon, 3 big marathons in 1 year. So it was a big year, and I tripped on my first workout and fell and injured my hip a little bit. So I'm recovering from that. But on Sunday, I was like, I want to be out there running. And so I've told Felix and everyone that I plan to come back next year and run. But then I thought last night also, I want to work on this project. Yeah. I want the 50-50 in the race and to help the project in any way I can. But yes, so in 2025, what's that, 7 years? Yeah. I'll be 78. Yes, I'll be back. Yes, why not? You know, I'm going to run till I drop. Thank you. Thank you. It'll be fun.
I promise her that if next year, if you are here, I will be your pacemaker.
Okay. Too fast, not too fast.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Eta orain, berriro ere, Javier Muruzari ematen diogu denbora bigarren abesti bat abesteko. Eskerrik asko, Javier.
Kathrine Switzer, Baiaren Lujanbio, en fin, impresionatzen du, honek. Ne behintzat, hola nago. Impresionatuta. Irungoa naiz, Irunen bizi naiz, eta Irunen badugu orain beste realitate bat, realitate berri bat, gogor kolpatzen gaituena. Etxetik atera, bueltaska bat eman, eta non nahi topatuko dituzu, Mazizi okeita denbele eta Mazizi okeita denbele desberdinak. Berezkuratu dugu gaurko egunerako kanta, aspaldiko kanta, 20 urte dituen gure kanta zarra, Bernardo Atxagaren hitzekin, eta hori izango da gure bigarren oparia, ez dakit. Bueno, kanta.
Mafizi okeita denbele kafetegi hontan urrun etxetik hain urrun Bilbaon. Afrikatik etorritako gizon honi begiratzen diot. Mostradore atzeko ispiluan kafia hartzen ari da pentsakor. Zeari ote da pentsatzen mafizi okeita denbele kafetegi hontan urrun etxetik hain urrun Bilbaon. Ispilu aurrian dauden bikoinak botilen artian justu hortxe ikusten dut gizonen begiak pentsako. Zeari ote da pentsatzen mafizi okeita denbele kafetegi hontan urrun etxetik hain urrun Bilbaon. Afrikaldeko bere herrian hango andre batengan hango lehorteaz, hango gerraz. Zeari ote da pentsatzen mafizi okeita denbele kafetegi hontan urrun etxetik hain urrun Bilbaon. Lingo lingo mombokate, lingo lingo mondalete, lingo lingo moginolote. Tina toka wanano gozalo, noko mama tina toyinama. Tina toka wanano gozalo, noko mama tina toyinama. Lingo lingo mombokate, lingo lingo mondelete, lingo lingo moginolote. Tina toka wanano gozalo, noko mama tina toyinama. 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 Lingo lingo mombokate, lingo lingo mondelete, lingo lingo moginolote. Tina toka wanano gozalo, noko mama tina toyinama. Tina toka wanano gozalo, noko mama tina toyinama. Lingo lingo mombokate, lingo lingo mondelete, lingo moginolote. Tina toka wanano gozalo, noko mama tina toyinama. Tina
Eskerrik asko, thank you. Mikel Azpiroz, pianoan.
Bueno, oraindik emozionatuta nago. La Universidad de Deusto ha instituido este año 2018 el premio Deusto Valores en el Deporte, Deusto Baloreak Kirolean Saria. El deporte es una actividad que ha tenido siempre una significativa presencia en la vida personal y comunitaria, muy especialmente en los últimos años. Más allá de la dimensión del deporte profesional, la actividad deportiva se asocia hoy a un estilo de vida saludable, bienestar, ocio personal y comunitario. Además de sus propios valores intrínsecos, su importancia y resonancia mediática hacen del deporte un medio idóneo para el cultivo y difusión de determinados valores que como sociedad queremos promover. Esfuerzo, disciplina, superación, orientación al logro, trabajo en equipo, respeto, igualdad, pasión, disfrute, belleza son valores asociados a la práctica deportiva y a nuestro desideratum social. La Universidad de Deusto entiende que la práctica deportiva y sus objetivos en términos de justicia social coinciden con el ideario de la propia universidad. Por todo ello, y a propuesta del vicerrector del campus de Donostia San Sebastián, el Consejo de Dirección de la Universidad de la Universidad de Deusto ha resuelto instituir el premio Deusto a los valores en el deporte para premiar y reconocer a aquellas personas, entidades o iniciativas que se hayan significado especialmente en la defensa de valores humanos universales a través de la práctica deportiva. Otorgar el premio Deusto Valores en el Deporte en su primera edición a Kathrine Switzer por su lucha en favor de la igualdad en general y en el atletismo en particular. Lehen urte honetan, sari honen izaera bere edukiarekin zuzenean lotuta dago, eta edukiak berak emango dio zentzua. Aurtengoan zorte handi bat izan dugu. Lehengo sari honen edukia Maialen Lujanbio, Euskal Herriko bertsolari txapelketaren irabazleak eta kristalesko zapaiak hautsi dituen beste pertsona batek egina dagoela. Eta beraz, gonbidatuko dut oholtzara etortzera bere bertsoa kantarekin.
Ara Kathrine gaztea gizon olde baten, korrontearen baitan nola daramaten. Ez etzeramaten jakin zuen joaten, ondoren zetozenek jarraitu zezaten. Maratoietan zenbat lehiakide batzen, den helmuga baterantz oinak bideratzen. Naiz bide berak denak berdin minberatzen, zuk egin zenuena beste bide bat zen. Lagun arteko kirol edo eliteko, garaia zen beldurrik gabe ekiteko, bidea amaitu arte egin jakiteko, aurrera zenbat bide dugun egiteko. Bostonen ta bestetan badira aleak, oraindik munduaren antolatzaileak, Andreak bidetatik baztertu zaleak, baina Andre lasterkariz beteta kaleak. Beldurrak sortzen duen geruza zurruna, laster bihurtzen baita korrika lurruna. Eta korrika ez goaz iesi urruna, gozatzen ari gara aurkitu duguna. $261 dortsala beltz eta zuri, $261 ausardiaren irudi, $261 bihotz taupada urduri, $261 bider esateko guri, badagoela aukera, egin daiteketa mugi, ausartu aldundu saretu, korri izerdia isuri, pausok izango dira, geure bizitzarantz zubi, $261.000 esker Kathrine zuri.
Sariaren entrega egiteko, gure artera dituko ditugu orain, Josean Rodríguez Ranz, Deustoko Unibertsitateko Donostiako kampuseko errektore ordea, eta berarekin batera, saria ematera, kampus honetan diharduten ikasle eta irakasle bat ere egongo dira eliteko kirolean, arraunean, kasu honetan dihardutenak. Ane Arbilaga, Psikologia eta Hezkuntza Zientzien Fakultateko irakaslea, eta 5 Kontxako bandera irabazi dituen San Juaneko nesken traineruko arraunlaria, eta Beñat Egiazu, alumno de Ciencias de la Actividad Física y el Deporte, y remero también la trainera de Hondarribía, ganadora este año de la bandera de la Concha. Así que, si nos acompañáis. Allá. Txoin. Azkenik eta ekitaldiari amaiera emateko, beste taldeko argazki bat ere atera nahi dugu. Gure kampusean ikasle diharduten beste hainbat kirolarirekin. Banaka-banaka deitzen joango naiz, ez dakit orden horretan eserita zaudeten, baina edozein kasutan Beñat bera, dagoeneko hemen dagoena, Katjalin Badiola, Eibarreko jokalaria, Estitxu Berazategi, Bera Eskubaloiko jokalaria, Ane Erguin, Errealeko jokei taldeko jokalaria, Magi Fernandez, bodiboarlaria, Olatz Garmendia, kaiak surflaria, Sara Iparragirre, IDK Gipuzkoa saskibaloiko jokalaria, Maria Goena, Real Sociedad jokei taldeko jokalaria, Irati Osa, Zumaiako Urola itxasadarreko piraguismo klubekoa, Ane Segurola, Errealeko jokei taldeko jokalaria, eta Jon Urtxulutegi, Santurtzi saskibaloi taldeko jokalaria. Agur foto. Aurrego. Jarri denak inguruan. Venga. Hori. Perfecto. Ni atzean. Ara. Listo. Primeran horrela bukatuko dugu bada gaurkoa, eskerrik asko guztioi hemen egoteagatik, eta orain saioaren amaieran Kathrine hemen egongo da, nahi duenak argazki bat atera beza berarekin, 15 minutuz, ea kapaz geran dena ondo ordenatzeko. Kathrine estará durante 15 minutos aquí para quien quiera se pueda sacar una foto con ella. Eskerrik asko denoi gurean egoteagatik.
So sorry, just don't cry, baby. There's no one but you.